Well, hello, Internet, and welcome to the Matt Powers Show. A show about entertainment, TV, movies, comic books, video games, sports, and music if you get around to it. I am your host, the titular Matt Powers, former comic book superhero, current elder millennial, podcasting about whatever I want to talk about. I guess that's the brilliance of podcasting. Anyone can talk about anything they want. Welcome, of course, to the show. This is a show where we have discussions. The old format was me commenting on things that I saw online. I think that's silly. Instead, I'd rather talk about something that matters to me. There's a lot of subjects out there that I just have a unique opinion on. Now, I'm not an expert in any form or fashion. I've been a nerd. I've been a geek. I've been a dork. I've been a weirdo all my life, I guess, on the outside of traditional popular society. I grew up watching all the fun stuff. Star Wars, Star Trek. I'm a fan of Ghostbusters, He-Man, and G.I. Joe, as much as I am of Batman and the X-Men and Spider-Man. I love cartoons and comics and anime. I love it all. I'm just a modern day nerd. All of it's interesting to me, and I generally enjoy most of it. Even the stuff that might not be great, I try to find a way to enjoy it. Entertainment is subjective. Everyone has different opinions. That's okay. We don't have to agree. It doesn't mean either one of us is wrong. Wrong, it doesn't mean that at all. That's the great thing about entertainment, being subjective. You and I can have completely diametric opposite opinions on something, and we were both right. It's just opinion, right? What I like to do with the show, I like to have a dialogue. I like to have a discussion. I'm just talking into the internet, hoping that you're listening and you hear something that you like or don't like, and then you have a comment about it. You want to say something about it. I just want to talk about my ideas. That's all. Sometimes they're unique, sometimes they're interesting, sometimes I see things a little differently, so maybe it gives you a new perspective on something you love. That's what this is for. But today, in particular, actually, I kind of wanted to tell you guys something about me, something unique, a story from my past that I thought you might enjoy. You've already read the title, of course, if you've opened up this YouTube. So it's the time I picked a fight with Boba Fett. This is a true story, but a time that I picked a fight with Boba Fett himself. Now, let me tell the story. I mean, you can see you'll see what I mean when I tell it. So when I was younger, when I was a teenager, my dad and I used to travel all over the country to these big gaming conventions. Now, what do I mean by gaming? I don't mean like hunting, and I don't mean like poker. Gaming, I mean like collectible card games, board games, role-playing games, that kind of stuff, nerd culture stuff. Specifically, we used to go because my dad and I were really into the Star Wars card games from a company called Decipher. And my dad used to represent Decipher at these conventions. That's how we got into the conventions, actually. Decipher would give him and me tickets into the conventions, assuming we would sit down and teach people how to play the games. My dad used to run tournaments locally, and he knew a lot of the guys that worked for the company. That's how we got set up doing this. So we used to travel all over the country. We used to go to all sorts of places. We used to go to Columbus, Ohio, the Origins. We used to go to Indianapolis. We used to go, locally in the Midwest. We drive all over the place, of course, Illinois, even as far as Atlanta, even as far, all sorts of places. We used to fly too. We go to a lot of different conventions, different places. But the place that one time, we went down to Texas, to Austin, Texas. There was some big Comic-Con, gaming con that was happening. For the life of me, I can't remember what it was. But we went down to Austin, Texas. And we were only going to be there for a day. It was a real short trip. We flew in on a Friday. We were going to be there for the Saturday. And then we had tickets to fly out, I think, Sunday morning. So, or maybe it was Saturday night, now that I think of it. I can't remember. We were only there for a day. It was a beautiful hotel. I wish I could remember the hotel. The story would be better if I could remember some of these salient details. But it was a beautiful hotel. I'd never been in a hotel like this. It might have been Hyatt or something. But it had this huge interior atrium that you could see all the way up, all the floors, all the way up. You could see all the way up, and they had a glass ceiling. You could see the sky. And in the center of the hotel there, in the atrium, that's where they would do like breakfast, and they had the restaurants and stuff. And then all around the edges were the rooms. Beautiful, gorgeous hotel. My dad and I flew in on a Friday, and we got to the hotel, and we put our stuff away and everything. And I think we went out to eat dinner that night, and then came back. As we did. I must have been about 13 or 14 years old at this point. And my dad and I, we went to bed. The next morning, my dad wakes me up, so I can take a shower and everything and get ready. And then he's going to take a shower and get ready. So he says, why don't you go down and get the breakfast? They had a breakfast buffet. It was all inclusive. They had an omelet bar, all this stuff. So why don't you go down, get your food, start eating breakfast. I'll be down in a few minutes. All right. So I head downstairs, and I go to the breakfast bar. And I'm like, hey, we'll get some scrambled eggs. Let's get some, tater tots or hash browns. We got like a whole bunch of bacon. I love bacon. So and I had some sausage too. I love sausage. And I think I got some pancakes. I got the whole works. I got everything. And when I went so after you get all your stuff, you go to get your silverware, like off to the side of the station where you can go get your silverware. So I went to get my silverware, and I bump into this guy trying to reach for like the forks. Now, I was raised to be polite and apologetic, right? So immediately the first thing I do is, I'm so sorry, my apologies, I apologize, I didn't mean to bump into you. And this guy, an older gentleman, very nice guy, he says, no, please, excuse me, I'm so sorry. And I say, no, please, it's my fault, I'm so sorry, I should have watched where I was going. And he, seemingly getting a little, not upset, but fake upset, goes, no, excuse me, it was my fault for bumping into you. And I say, no, sir, excuse me. And like it kind of goes back and forth. I raise my fist up like we're gonna fight, and he does the same thing. We're both laughing, I'm a 13-year-old kid. This guy was like in his 50s or 60s. He's an old man. He's funny. Anyway, I grab my stuff. He grabs his stuff, and I say, hey, have a good breakfast. This is you too. And I go and I sit down at a table. Minutes later, my dad's down there. He picks up, he gets his food, he sits down. He says, everything all right? I say, yeah. I said, everything's fine. I say, I picked a fight with an old man over the silverware, but everything's fine. Yeah, that's good. And he says, who? And I point to the guy who's sitting off, a ways. He's got a fork full of waffles in his mouth, and he sees me pointing at him. He sees my dad there, and he smiles, big smile with waffles in his mouth, and he, hello, waves at us. My dad gets real pale and, stares at me. He goes, Matt, don't you know who that is? I said, no, who? He goes, it's the most feared bounty hunter in all the galaxy. That's Boba Fett. I go, what? He goes, it's the actor who played Boba. That's Jeremy Bulloch. And it was this British actor, Jeremy Bulloch, who played the original Boba Fett in the movies. Now, it wasn't his voice. I think someone else did his voice, but it was the guy in the suit who played Boba Fett for both Empire and Jedi. And I'm laughing at this. I'm like, oh, God, I can't believe I picked a fight with Boba Fett, Minutes later, this guy finishes whatever he's eating. He walks over, and he sits down with us. He introduces himself to us, and to my dad. And he says, hey, I just want to let you know, your son and I, we had a bit of a joke earlier. And I said, yeah. I said, oh, it's okay. We pretended to fight, So I think he was doing it just to make sure my dad was okay. A random stranger was talking to his kid. But he sat with us for, while we ate breakfast, he sat with us for 30 minutes. And just talked to us, just, hey, how's it going? What are you guys here for? We told him we were here to support the Cypher, that we played the card game. He goes, oh, I'm sitting at their booth. Come by later. We'll talk, and I'll sign stuff for you. It was really, really nice. One of the honest to God, one of the nicest guys I've ever met in my entire life. He is a professional actor. He's done quite a bit of work over in England. Real work, dramatic work, not just Star Wars stuff. And he was so kind to come over and talk to us. Now, a little bit of was self-promotion, right? He had just written a book, and I think he also wanted to talk about his book and, the things he was doing, and that's fine. I do the same thing anytime I'm talking to people. I always try to put in there my channels or whatever. But it was just really nice of him. And he talked to us forever, and he just said, hey, when we were done and everything, and he was done, he says, listen, I gotta go. He says, really, it was great to meet you. He says, please, sincerely, come by the booth. I'd love to sign some stuff for free for you guys. It'd be good to see you at the convention. Anytime you want to talk, just say hi. Real nice guy. And off he went. And, I as a kid, I'm like, well, this is really cool. But my dad's like, well, yeah, okay, but he's probably not going to remember this. We did, later that day, we did see him at the convention. He said hi, he signed, so he's nice, But like a year later, I think we saw him at another convention. I can't remember where. We saw him at another convention, because he used to do convention spots with Decipher. They used to bring him, drag him around so we could sign people's cards and stuff. And he remembered us. I thought that was so nice of him. I was like, yeah, how many people does he meet in life? How many, how many fans, how many people does he meet? And he remembers one punk-ass kid that pretended to pick a fight with him, Now, he was a really nice guy. It's a great story. It's one of those things that I look back on fondly. My dad and I had really great times traveling all over and doing these conventions. And you can't get that back, right? You can't replicate. Those are good days. I miss my dad. Unfortunately, my dad passed away some years ago due to cancer. It was a long fight. He just kind of wore out his options. He did all the stuff. He did the chemo and everything, and the therapies and whatnot. And you get to the point where your body just can't handle anymore, and if cancer wants to take you, it takes you. But I remember those days fondly. I remember those trips. Those were very important to me growing up. And sadly, Jeremy Bullock has passed away as well. But I can tell you right now, if anyone has ever wondered, he was an A+ kind of guy. He was probably he's exactly what you want celebrities to be. What you want movie stars to be, actors to be. Humble and sweet and kind and funny and just truly amazing. Well, I've met other celebrities too. I've got other stories. I'll tell you another time. But, especially from Decipher, getting to go. I'm very thankful to the people that I met when I was younger. I'm sure I was a punk-ass kid. I'm sure nobody wanted to talk to me. I was a kid that had ADHD and talked too much and had his own, had way too many of his own opinions. And I'm sure nobody actually wanted me around. They all treated me very nice. I wish I could see some of them again. I wish I could meet some of them again and tell them how much it meant to me that I was treated well. How it has helped me to look back on my life fondly and kind of formed who I am today. Great people. And they were just working the job. They didn't, but they were very, very good. Anyway, what about you guys? Has anyone else out there ever met? Well, first off, has anyone met Jeremy Bullock? Does anyone else have a story that they can talk about that? But if not, have you ever met a celebrity, an actor, something that you love watching? What was your encounter like? Tell me about it in the comments below. Tell me about the time you met, whoever, and what they had to say, and what it was like. Did anyone else ever go to these big conventions for games? Did anyone else play the Star Wars card game or Star Trek from Decipher, Lord of the Rings? I think they also did Lord of the Rings. They did Dot Hack as well at the end there in the last few years. I remember playing that. I really enjoyed that as well. Did anyone ever go to these conventions and play games? Well, what did you play? Tell me about it. Tell me about a time you met a celebrity. Tell me about a time you met someone from Star Wars. I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below. Or if you'd rather, you can send me an email. davidcampproductions@gmail.com. And I'll tell you what, anyone who comments and if you send me emails, then next week I'll put together an update, a reaction video to it. I'll read it and we'll discuss it. We'll talk about it on a podcast. I want to hear from you guys. Thank you for joining me today. Thank you for listening to my story. If you like this, please like it. It really helps. And subscribe to the channel if you haven't. I know you hear us say that all the time, and maybe you do or don't care, but it really helps me to know that somebody out there is listening. This is just a discussion with the internet, so it's great to have somebody who's talking back, who's giving me some feedback. So if you liked it, like it. If you want to, subscribe to it. Come back next time. We every Saturday and Sunday we're putting out these episodes, I believe. Recording a lot of these ahead of time, so I'm hoping it's all Saturday and Sunday. And we'll talk again in the coming days. Thank you so much, guys. And once again, this is Matt Powers saying, Powers out.
Vortex.